Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I'm Deanna King with 5dpath.fun. And today we're going to talk about evolutionary astrology. We're going to use my chart, my personal evolution through the nodes going through the chart. And I'm going to just discuss with you what's going on with me. So this is kind of an experiential client chart, so to speak. You get to enjoy how I have been perceiving what's been going on in my life, like in relationship to all of the planets and how they're moving. Because a lot of times it's not just cookie cutter, like Saturn is authority, like sometimes there's all this other stuff going on. So I'm just going to tell you what's going on with me, and you get to see the interaction between all the planets and how they're tripping the energy in my personal chart to help you read your charts in the future. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll be looking now at my chart. And this is my natal chart, and I've also got the transiting planets on the outside, and this is a chart made with astro.com. So I want to just mention for a moment, as you take in what's going on in my chart, you'll notice right off the bat, like my first house has Pluto and Uranus. And you would normally think, because those are outer planets, that maybe someone with that in their chart would not have a personal experience of that. But I just want to say, yes, I do, because it's a first house. And I want to talk about how the first house, since that's your expression into the world, that oftentimes these planets here can be an expression of that individuality of yourself. And there's a lot of ways that you could interpret Pluto-Uranus conjunct. You know, you might think, oh my God, you're super powerful. Well, I'm 58 years old, and I'm just now like really coming into my power. And that's because I'm about to have my second Saturn's return. And that huge opposition has been working me. After my first Saturn's return, obviously, it was just still asking me to mature and move forward. So what I feel like I've been doing my whole life up till now is clearing with Pluto, clearing and transforming all the soul wounds, programming, some of the karma. And then again, this could also be an expression with Pluto in the first house. This person has a lot of ability to transform, or they're called to transform. Now, I wasn't born knowing how to transform. I certainly had my fair share of trials and tribulations, and I did not have any mentors. I did not have any role models. I basically kind of had to learn, or maybe instinctually remember, how to heal, how to take care of myself. And also, I want to mention, with Pluto in the first house, I was sexually abused as a child. And so that's potentially the expression of this Pluto, especially because of the opposite Saturn, which could represent the father. And my father was a perpetrator in this instance, and most definitely a man. You know, it could have represented a man. So I'm just kind of trying to help you understand how it can play out in a person's life. Now, because Pluto and Uranus are in that first house, I really feel, for me personally, that I'm very Pluto directed. I'm extremely interested in my soul's growth, in my soul's ability to clear ancestral trauma. And I have maybe in the last 10 years become conscious of the fact that those were agreements that I came in with. And you'll also notice this close tie to the moon and Venus and Mercury. And to me, having that close tie to the moon, you know, if that's the mother or the people, there's something about those agreements, the soul, Pluto being the soul, and bringing it into the more personal expression, right? The moon and Venus and Mercury, all personal expressions. And I wanted to say something as I'm doing this chart. We just finished the summer where Venus went retrograde in Leo. And you'll notice I have a Leo sun, and I was super stoked, thinking, strangely enough, thinking I was just going to have this blissful time learning how to play more. And the reality is Venus was really asking me to unearth the parts of my ego that were living in la la land, or that were being selfish, or that were being entitled. And it was really challenging. It was really, really challenging for me. I did not expect Venus in Leo to be that hard for me. But I will also say that during this time that Venus was retrograde in Leo, I was getting a square from Jupiter to my sun. So I think that that was the activation happening, where Jupiter squaring the sun was really challenging my identity, and Venus was in there trying to assist an up level to a place of maybe more integrity, more I don't know, I'm still trying to decipher what that is. I know it's not finished yet. I kind of have a feeling that as Venus moves through these next, right now it's in Virgo, just entered Virgo, that I'll have more insights. Now, specifically, last year when Mars was retrograde in Gemini, which is my 10th house, and I've been really focusing hard on my 10th house for about 2-3 years now. When Mars was retrograde in Gemini, I was scared of it, and I kind of just took about a month off. I didn't do a lot. I didn't utilize the energy that I could have from Mars, because I was afraid with it retrograde that nothing would pan out. And this 10th house for me is actually kind of a new expression. Like I think I have been hiding part of that Pluto again. I was hiding. I've been playing small for many, many years of my life, and I'm finally trying to step out into the public. So I feel like Mars retrograde over Jupiter and my North Node were really working me underneath subconsciously. Incidentally, the week that Mars went direct, I became quite motivated, because I'd been waiting for it to go to direct. And I actually chose to spend some money, more than I've ever spent, on myself to get a book published, to get it started through the publishing process. So that was the positive part of Mars going retrograde. And I believe it actually turned direct at 8 degrees, so on my midheaven, and then went forward. So I've just been watching, I've been feeling extremely Mars oriented since that time, like almost to the point of not being realistic. Like, they say Mars is instinctual, but perhaps because I still need to clear some programming, and especially around projects and what we get done and what looks like success. I don't really know that my Mars energy was serving my highest good. It was just kind of moving in a direction that I thought would be right, based on everything I've been taught. And even what I've been taught about astrology. So it's just been very interesting. And I want to say that now that Mars has gone through Libra, I didn't feel hard. You know what happened when Mars was conjunct my Mars is basically for about 6 weeks now, I have been very challenged to get anything done. It's almost like I really just want to play. And I can't tell if it's the inner child that's having a tantrum that's like, I don't want to work anymore, I want to play, or whether it's fear-based about stepping into that public place a little bit more. And can I really pull it off? So Mars is not strong normally in Libra, and Mars is the lower expression of Pluto. So they're kind of tied together. And I think that's why I've been feeling that Mars energy and very aware of kind of that warrior and defensiveness and the need to go out and conquer. That's kind of what it's felt like, this need to go out and conquer. But I've had a lot of doors kind of shut in my face and not a lot of flow. And so I've just learned through my life that when things aren't really flowing, you're kind of not on the right path. So this has been very interesting for me. It's hard to rest and wait. It's really, really hard. It's not my MO. And I realized that I could be transforming that inner programmed masculine energy, because even women were programmed that it's not about what you create or what you dream, it's about what you produce, which is a masculine trait, right? And I'm very excited if I'm clearing that, because I want to help birth that divine feminine energy in, and I want to be a role model. So I'm interested to see what happens when Mars is more into Scorpio, and particularly for me, as the day I'm recording this, Pluto went direct in Capricorn. So I'm recording this actually on the 11th, and Pluto went direct last night. So even though this says retrograde here, it is direct at 28 degrees. And this Pluto through Capricorn has been very interesting for me. Number one, we have the earth sign, Capricorn. We have my major earth sign, Virgo, with the stellium. So I'm highly aware, and I tactfully feel kind of a lot of this Pluto energy. And I do also believe that during this recent Pluto retrograde that's been for about, I want to say 4 months, it was really hard for me to get anything done. And even though this is ruling my 5th house, which is my sun, right? So there's all these relationships ruling my 5th house, and Capricorn also being where my Jupiter and North Node is. It's not really about hobby or recreational activities, because for me, what I'm doing is I'm taking my passion and my hobby that's always been a sideline, and I'm turning it into my career path, because I want to love what I do. And anyway, I kind of feel like that's what Capricorn can express. If Capricorn is in that house of the 5th house or the house of Leo, that it can be very work oriented, right? So, at first I was like thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to fully relax, because I've got this Capricorn work ethic that's like infusing all of my recreation and creativity and fun. But I do get a ton of pleasure from work parties. Like, get a bunch of people together, let's finish a project for someone. I love doing that, because the Virgo part of me wants to get stuff done, wants to make things more efficient, wants to improve things, right? So there's always a relationship going on when you're reading a chart. There's never just like one sign and one house that are that you can read about. You have to kind of look at all the relationships. I want to also talk about how right now my sun, my progressed sun and my progressed Mercury are at 3 degrees of Libra, and my progressed moon in Libra is, I believe, at 28. So very soon it's going to shift into Scorpio. And I have Venus, Neptune, and Mars progressed in Scorpio right now. So, and that's all in the 1st house. in my progressed first house. So I'm just kind of fascinated about how, you know, my first house is Pluto ruled, and now my first house is ruled with Scorpio. And I have Mars there. So it's kind of like this similar energy. I just find it fascinating how the cosmos is like bringing me back into this familiar energy, at least familiar with this blueprint of how I was born. And the fact that I'm conscious of it now, because I've only been studying astrology for 5 years, very intensively. And so it means something to me. The fact that I didn't begin to learn astrology till later in my life. And I'm also becoming very aware of like all of these energies that are in Scorpio now. And specifically when the moon comes into Scorpio in just a few months. Also for me, I think the Scorpio is, this third house is huge because it's tied to my Gemini, North Node Jupiter, 10th house, right? And it's tied to this 12th house stellium. So this Neptune, of course, ruling the 12th house, is sort of ruling my moon and my Venus. And if you go by some rules of astrology, my sun, the whole Leo is ruling the 12th house as well. Even though these are actually in the 12th house in this chart, Leo is ruling the 12th house. Just kind of depends on how you look at that. But what I find this Scorpio, Neptune in Scorpio, how that expresses for me is I often have conversations that come up when I'm, you know, walking around town, or neighbors call me up to buy something from me, and I end up with these very deep metaphysical conversations. And they're short. I don't always create a long-term relationship with these people. I may never see them again, but I have these common, often short but very deep conversations of wisdom, great wisdom. And so that's kind of this Gemini, the Gemini energy is like, it comes and goes. It's changeable, right? It's not a constant. And yet the constancy is found in the fact that it happens over and over again, like throughout my month, throughout my years. And right now, you can tell by maybe the fact that I have this video and I'm doing these videos about astrology and metaphysical topics. I'm very motivated and enthusiastic to talk about topics that normally aren't in the general topic field, and also try to bring them into layman's terms so that everybody can kind of get a sense of what's going on that makes sense for them. So Gemini, of course, on the top of the chart is going to help me improve my communication. But the fact that it's my North Node means there's a part of me that is a beginner. I haven't mastered, there's something I haven't mastered there. And what I first of all found is that there's a lot of tech stuff needed to do this work, and I hate the technical stuff. If I were able to pick and choose what I wanted to do, I would do parts of it. But you know, when you're trying to edit a video and add music and add all these other things, it's above my wisdom scale, and sometimes I get extremely frustrated to have to be the learner of all of that, because what I really love is talking about spiritual topics. That's what I really love. I don't really love pulling it down into the 3D and all the minuscule little details. And you would think I would because of the Virgo, but that's a square. I have a major square between my north node, my midheaven, and the stellium. And so, it feels like Jupiter says, go, go, go. And the square says, but I hate it. It's hard. It's this inner resistance, this inner conflict. And at the same time, I have also the square to Saturn. And of course, there's the opposition from Virgo to Pisces. And then my south node is in Sagittarius. So I have a grand mutable square. So I kind of feel like oftentimes I feel like I'm being stopped on many different levels. It's never just one. And thank God it's a mutable grand cross, because I would hate for it to be fixed. And cardinal would be okay. The mutable means that I can sort of pick myself up and dust off and move on. But at the same time, I'm really feeling this pressure from both Pluto, but Saturn, coming into my second Saturn's return, feeling this pressure to get on my divine path, to actually be earning money, supporting myself, not relying on anyone else. And for me, because of this opposition, I've always put authority and responsibility on other people. I've projected it out, right, through the whole of my life. So this is the first time in my life where I realized, okay, I need to stop doing that. I need to do the work. And I have not been lazy. I've been doing work my whole life, but I've never been the 100% breadwinner. And now I have to be the 100% breadwinner. And that's also that Mars, when it went retrograde through Gemini, it stimulated this inner energy in me to create a business for myself that was all solely me, that only I would get credit for, rather than, I've always shared what I've done with other people. So that's kind of another step that I've had to step into recently with this evolution that I'm in. And this, when Mars was going through Libra right here, I guess I do have to say that was the aha I got this last 4 weeks, was that, yes, I'm really kind of afraid about taking care of myself. Can I do it as well as I want to be taken care of? And it's bringing up a huge amount of trust. Or maybe it's bringing up all the distrust that I have for myself and for spirit to provide for me, to be my provider. Now, when I was, a young child, that sexual abuse created wounds in me, or maybe it triggered the wounds that I was born with, right? About not having a provider that protected me. And so ultimately all my relationships since then have been basically where the man betrayed me or abandoned me, whether it was just emotionally. I mean, I had a pretty, compared to some people, pretty good, but I still experienced emotional abuse, emotional abandonment. I experienced maybe that entitled way that men can be towards women, not giving me credit, not giving me honor and respect. Definitely with the moon there, it was against my body. Like they did not think I owned my own body and had a right to say what was mine. And again, that's the storyline of that original sexual abuse in this lifetime. I do understand that this is probably not the first time that I've been sexually abused. This is not the first lifetime. But it's just kind of interesting to me that at this evolution coming on my second Saturn's return, I'm getting a lot of ahas. I'm really waking up to the patterns that I've had and what they might mean in a bigger perspective rather than just the nitty-gritty of every day. He did this to me and whatever, you know, there's a bigger, more expansive perception for me. And so I think that's all I want to say today. And I'm going to do this again. Oh, I want to also talk about how we just went into, this is October of 2023, and we now have the nodes, the lunar nodes here in Aries and Libra. And I thought it was very interesting how when they were in Scorpio and Taurus, what ended up happening for me personally was a struggle, a power struggle, power struggle. There's Scorpio, a power struggle between me and my man, and him not wanting to give me the money I deserved when we broke up. And ultimately there was a power struggle right before we broke up, and that was the cause of the breakup. And it felt like it was around money and me not being given the value of the work that I had put in. And that's kind of a Taurus theme. And also that power, how money can have power, is a Scorpio theme. And then I want to call in how, you know, Neptune being the hidden, because it was one of those situations where neither of us wanted to talk about it or bring it up. And we also both had assumptions that we kept to ourselves, assuming the other felt the same way. So there was a lot of hidden agenda and a lot of hidden truths, or maybe mistakenly assumed truths, that we were on the same page and we weren't. So it was just very interesting how the Taurus and Scorpio axis played out in my life. And then now that we're in Libra and Aries, and I'm single now, I am thinking, yes, I want to start a relationship, but I'm also very reserved because I realize I have a lot to do and put together, and I don't want to be distracted, and I really want to be centered into who I am and what I deserve before I step into a next relationship. And I want to break that cycle of wanting to run to a man to be my savior or my support system. I don't want to step into a relationship as a crutch to help me through this. I want to step into it because we both are truly wanting to be together and support each other, right? So I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. My Mars energy is getting very activated. Activated in the sense that I can feel myself well, number one, I'm trying to figure out how to create income for myself, which is that second house. I don't want to do it in the way that men do it. I don't want to do it in the way that Facebook says you need to do it or YouTube says you need to do it. My Uranus, of course, wants to do an individual thing. And I'm really hoping that that individuality desire doesn't bite me in the ass, actually. I hope that I won't regret that need to be authentic and do it my way. But you'll get to hear how that works out. You'll get to watch. And the other big thing is the fact that the 8th house is ruled by Aries. So again, that's related to the Pluto, right? And the Scorpio. So it's almost like this nodal access point is a continuation of last year's, because it still has to do with money, and it still has to do with me expressing myself completely and truthfully. And of course, the Aries energy is that entrepreneurial drive. And I think that'll help me. But with it in the 8th house, it's like, am I going to have to really dive deep and uncover those parts that Aries can be immature, right? And the other interesting thing is there was a payout of some money last year when the nodes were in Taurus and Scorpio. And so this year I'm looking at paying a lot of taxes, maybe. I don't know. I'm like nervous. And so I realized that with the nodes in the 8th house, there might be something to do with money and taxes, right? So I'm just kind of laughing and also not laughing, because it's so funny how we get so attached to our money. We get so attached to it's a survival thing. Like, I don't know at what point money became survival, because we used to get everything from the earth for free. And we just had to put our time in it to make it, you know, to harvest the food, to make the shoes, to do all of those things that we had to do to live our lives. And now we don't do all those trades anymore. We just go to the store. We earn a paycheck and go to the store. So there you have it. I hope you learned something from this about how this is playing out in my life. And I'd love to have some comments. If you want to leave any comments, if you want to describe something you would like to see me talk about, whether it's in your chart or mine, I would love to do that. And please like and subscribe. Please share this in any way. I'm trying to build my audience, and I'm kind of new at this, and I oftentimes just forget to ask. I also am a manifester in human design, a 6-2 manifester. And that's some relatively new information for me. So that is requiring me also to step into more of a leadership role and a role of inventing. So I am here to invent. I'm here to bring in new ideas. And I'm looking for a team. I'm looking for my team who wants to work with me. So thank you for being here. I enjoy you. And I look forward to next time. Thank you.